welcome to the fourth episode of our series of webinars dedicated to explain the nature of IFS Cloud Upgrade projects. In this episode, we are going to share our experience. We would like to touch some organizational challenges that you might face when you do your own upgrade project. Today with me, I have my two well-known colleagues, Klaus and Östen. Guys, please shortly introduce yourself to those listeners who didn't watch any of our earlier webinars.
Okay, I'm Klaus Klausman. I'm managing the Novacura project office, and I have a team of colleagues that support and provide the global expert knowledge to our sales implementation and support resources. So we provide advice in the solution, in the methods and tools, provide methods and tools to be efficient and quality assured.
Yep, and you, Östen?
Okay, I'm Östen Westman, and I'm responsible for our sales within the channel partner agreement that we have with IFS in the Nordics. So my team, we help out selling IFS Cloud and Novacura Flow to our customers.
Super. As I mentioned it earlier, we are going to touch some organizational challenges that customers might face when they do their own IFS Cloud upgrade projects. So the first one that I would like to start with is, you could name it insufficient awareness at the management level. So they simply saying they don't know what to anticipate together with the upgrade project. Could you briefly explain what's behind this topic?
Absolutely. I think we touched on it in earlier seminars that there is it's a big change in strategy and a paradigm shift in terms of how to look at your ERP solution. Going from big implementation with maybe a big upgrade every fifth year, now you are in an ongoing process all the time that you need to review the news and the new capabilities of the solution. Maybe at least once a year, sometimes even twice a year. And for being efficient and actually reaping the benefits the best way, the whole organization must know about this process, and especially the management. It must be initiated on the management level. And I think we have spent a lot of time, I would say the last 12, 15 months, we have been in a lot of conversations with different customers on different level in their organization, where we have been pushing this message, and we've been basically educating a lot of people in the thinking around IFS Cloud.
What's the common topic that they didn't know before you came to them?
I think there is a misperception in terms of some technology things. In earlier seminar, we mentioned that the ERP Evergreen solutions are very different from Netflix and other solutions. It's not just if we cannot sort of compare them on the same level in terms of maturity from a cloud perspective. Another important topic is cost. I mean, the management is aware of the new business model. There is an investment to do in order to reach IFS Cloud. And we've been advising and trying to help people to understand this better. And then,
so they are not aware that they need to, subscribe.
They know about this, but maybe they don't know the details about it.
So price level and
but there's still a requirement in the market, I would say, to be able to actually have a fluctuating use of the system in terms of number of licenses or seats, for example. Mm-hmm. But most of the ERP vendors, they don't offer. You can of course increase your use, but
it's not so easy to decrease.
Not so easy to decrease, yeah. So there are challenges in that, and I think also the time that they need to spend before they actually reach the next level. That they need to prepare and even maybe go into a total different kind of negotiation and actually secure a new agreement for their new ERP solution. And I think for some people that has been quite a big surprise. they have been thinking about it as yet another upgrade, basically.
I think what is important to mention here is that this is not just IFS Cloud Upgrade. It's your ERP journey to cloud project. It's you change your paradigm. You change your IT landscape, right? It's a new setup, totally new setup for the whole organization. So it's not just upgrade for particular ERP. It's the new thinking about your company, about the core system that you now have in the cloud, in the Evergreen situation, and it affects all the areas in the company.
Absolutely. We've been talking a lot about the capabilities that is embedded into IFS Cloud at this point, and in order to sort of reach and use all of those capabilities, you need to have this new way of thinking. It is absolutely essential to actually. I think from a management perspective, it's all about actually taking the time to actually set themselves into these issues and read more about it and talk to colleagues and get the information they need. I mean, these people, they are used to make investments on billion Swedish krona level. So I'm not saying that the upgrade to IFS is a billion Swedish krona, but they
slightly less expensive.
It's absolutely less expensive, but it's to actually set themselves into that situation, and not only the CTO or CIO.
It's not an IT project. It's a project for the entire organization.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so we started from the head, from the beginning, but there are obviously some more I wouldn't say practical, but more specific topics that we also observe. And one of these is that customers have, as you mentioned before, they have their expectations when it comes to what will be delivered as a standard package, and they expect the best practice that comes together with this software, and they expect that it will be available out of the box and that it will immediately support their situation, their processes, while the reality is slightly different. So could you explain this,
Yes.
misunderstanding?
Yes. So when we talk about best practice process models, it's easy to expect that you can actually just use them as they are provided with the IFS applications solution and adopt to them and run your business with it. But unfortunately, it's not that easy. Mm-hmm. First of all, in a best practice process, you need to involve the people that actually are involved in the process. And the people are typically organized and have roles and responsibilities and mandate within a specific setting, a specific organization, and roles within that organization. And that's really what will be your best practice, is how do these people interact to run the process and to cooperate in the best possible way with the IFS system support. So to cut it short, the IFS best practice process models is very much still the way you're supposed to operate and do things in a certain order in IFS applications. So with that said, it's very difficult for the customers to have outlined their own to-be processes and map them to IFS best practice, and based on that, sit down and just learn and run the system based on that. Mm-hmm. That's a big challenge, and our observation and experience now, when we in the last years really tried very hard to use the IFS methodology out of the box.
The standard methodology.
The standard methodology, which is very much based on that you match the IFS processes to the customers as is, or rather preferably to be processes.
Yep.
But it's very difficult for the customer to come up with documented to be processes that are on the same level, on the detail level as the IFS best practice process. Very often it's on a higher, more aggregated level. And of course, it's very easy to provide harmonized to-be processes on a higher level, because it's on the detail level you have all the differences in the company. So to address that, we have adjusted the way...
I'm sorry, I must ask the question.
Yeah,
so do you mean that the standard methodology tries to force the customer to work in the way the system is designed, or what?
I mean, it's recommended, of course, to follow the best practice processes, the processes the IFS has documented and provide out of the box.
So it's adjusting the company to the system.
Doing that will not help the customer run the processes that are applicable to their business.
Of course.
Because they have a certain organization that is not part of that.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's, and to overcome that gap, but there is a gap between the actual business processes and business needs that the customer has of system support and the documented processes in IFS. So to overcome that, it's very beneficial, we found out, to help the customer document use cases that are situations, business situations, that they describe with their own words. They describe what the different roles involved in doing something, in actually moving a designed new piece of equipment into operation and in a maintenance phase.
Yeah.
Now, how do you do that a change? You take something into operation and you need to maintain it moving forward, and you have your design for it. And to get them to describe that in their own words, and also pinpoint the pain points and what they want to achieve and what they expect to do to remove those pain points. Yeah. And to work with that, and then convey, first of all, the concept of how IFS work, how the functionality build up to satisfy the requirements around that business case. And then secondly, then set up the system to run the business case, to explain to the customer, this is how you will use the IFS functionality.
So I guess you start with the to-be processes documentation. It's to be, actually. I mean, because they express their expectations.
What I'm telling you is that you do that by working with the customer to describe these business use cases.
You first focus on their processes, then on the system.
They represent the way they view their business and their need. And then we run the application to satisfy and play back how you use IFS applications for that particular business.
So then you design how to use this application, set of capabilities.
And when we've done that, we do understand then how the IFS processes that describe the order, how you do those things to satisfy the business case. Then we can also look at it again and actually derive the to-be process model based on that. Mm-hmm. And that is it's a different way of doing it compared to the IFS standard methodology, but it's a lot easier to get evidence for the right solution for the customer.
I mean, you probably invest more in the early stage, but you will benefit, I mean, during the UAT tests and after go live, right?
Absolutely. So you invest in these business use cases to get them the right documentation for it, and to then zoom in on the critical systems and steps in the application and the features supporting those steps to really convey a working solution in critical areas for the customer.
Yep.
So, but IFS, to their benefit, has invested in something they call the scope tool, the IFS scope tool, where you map the functionality with these business processes to the customer's business. And that mapping is crucial that you do that before you actually do the business use cases, because then you have the whole setup and the mapping of what functionality is used today and what functionality in the bigger scheme do they aspire to use then. And we depict and map which areas the customer is critical to the customer, and we zoom in on those critical areas, and we use these use cases in the critical areas to really provide evidence that they can get the right functional support from IFS Cloud.
So to summarize this, what I understand is that what is different in our methodology is we don't follow our own methodology. It's just that we are supplementing the standard IFS methodology, and we put more emphasis on this to-be processes design phase. I mean, we first listen to the customers. We give them the freedom to express their expectations and the way they want to work.
We help them document and that in these use cases that really describe their business
and
needs.
Then we map it onto what is available in the system. We probably proactively propose some additional features and capabilities that come together with the package, because sometimes customers might not even think that something is doable, like automated features.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it puts a huge, level of like the competency level for the consultants. I mean, who lead this process, right? Because you must be really experienced to guide the customers, and I mean, you need to understand their business. You need to understand the system. You need to map one onto another, and you need to consolidated.
But I mean, the key thing here is to help the customer describe their business needs when they together with Novacura document these use cases. Then, of course, to have the in-depth IFS Cloud functional knowledge to demo the functionality that they should use to resolve the requirements of the use case.
To propose the solution that reflects the expectation.
And then this is a foundation that goes all the way through the entire implementation, because when you get into the next phase, then you break down these business use cases into user stories and test cases. So you have maybe one business use case can be broken down to 3 or 4 user stories, and each user story have a set of 3 or 4 test cases. That's how it works.
One really important thing is in this methodology also is that we're trying to be very using real data, basically using the current version of the database, doing a first upgrade very early, and use that in this very early confirm prototype phase. Which means that the level of acceptance is much higher from the customer side when they recognize the data. They see their suppliers, their objects, their products, parts, etc. And so the discussion would be more focused on what Claes is describing than, okay, can I see my old data? How will it look like? It would be much better focus
can I filter my favorite key accounts here? And then if they see their accounts, they recognize it.
But they will also have much easier way of expressing themselves, describing the use case.
When they see their data, their business, and in the system. So you do like this auxiliary upgrade. This is just to have this demo installation in place to discuss the processes and functionalities with users based on that, not based on PowerPoint and theoretical. Okay, which is probably very connected. I want to ask one more question. When do you do that? Because IFS methodology defines several steps, like initiate project and define scope, prototypes. And when do you do this?
You do that in the two first phases. You have initiate project and you have confirm prototype. In initiate project, you lay the foundation for setting up these use cases. So as Austin said, you provide an upgraded environment, a test database with upgraded data, and you also do this more detailed process mapping, where you actually highlight the processes that are critical, and you highlight that the processes where the customer will need to make decisions on will they use this functionality or will they use the applications they use today, in answering whether they should consolidate and how first should they consolidate. So we know what areas of this big solution we should touch more in detail. So that's what we do in initiate project, along with actually the overall enterprise rules. How many companies will be there? Is there an internal supply chain? What sites should exist? And should you split or should you consolidate sites now with the new remote warehouse functionality, which is quite often actually, and not to mention the understanding of the systems landscape and the ideas on the to-be systems landscape and the integration requirements based on that.
If you start from mapping processes, you see all these...
last part in this initiate project is to understand the data management, then the data quality, which source systems that exist in
I'll ask you about it in a second, okay? Because
fine.
I think it's a separate challenge that we observe. I think we could close this part. It's probably obvious. To sum it up, you first do the business analysis, you map processes, you document together with the customer, you document the expectation, then you map it onto the system, and while doing it, you show real demo that is preloaded with the existing historical customer data, so the customer can recognize his organization in that new demo, and so he can describe.
Also important to avoid modifications. It actually one of the best ways of actually, I see my data in the new standard solution without the modifications, and yes, I can do this. So it's actually an excellent way.
I no longer need the modification because I recognize my business.
I just want to add, we also try hard to be very thorough in it when it goes to educating the customer in new functionality and concepts in these critical areas. So we really give them the chance to understand the evidence of how functionality will support their business when we demo. So it's important to really get the right level of education upfront.
Which is very connected to the next question that I have prepared. When we talk to some other IFS customers during different events and like conferences, we hear a lot that there is this human factor connected to these upgrade projects. I mean, IFS Cloud offers totally different user interface, so users are usually surprised with this new interface. It takes some time for them to get used to that, to be, sometimes they are surprised when they see the system during the user acceptance test, and sometimes they are surprised when they see it for the first time after the go live, and they are surprised that some functionalities or capabilities are missing. I guess with what you're proposing, you can also avoid that situation because you involve these super users in a very early stage. So they constantly work with the solution since the very beginning, since the prototype phase, right? And they see a real system, they see their data. So if something is missing at that stage, they will easily identify it and express it, right? Am I correct?
Absolutely.
You're correct there. And then the only caveat I want to tell you there is that we do that in these highlighted areas that are critical or exposed to these consolidation requirements that the customer may have. So it's not the entire solution. That's not possible.
Course,
it's within the
core
focused areas.
Yeah, core areas. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, this change to the methodology has an impact on many things. Now, I would like to go to another question. Yeah, there is the other whole separate topic that is usually a challenge when you do the upgrade project is the data quality management, master data management. How is it? How do you see this in the context of IFS Cloud Upgrade projects?
I think what we come across so far is a great need in actually improving how the customer manage their data across their systems landscape. And when they move to IFS Cloud, they also ask themselves, so how much of functionality should we put in the IFS core? And with that, they ask themselves, okay, will IFS be the source of master data, or what other systems do we have that use the same data objects? And what should be our models to share the information of customers, for example? You may have
CRM,
three or four systems or even more that use customers. And how should we onboard and reboard and offboard customers?
What's the primary source of information? What's the slave and so on?
And with that also, of course, a quality of data. I mean, are they tagged with the right attributes to recognize the different types of customers and markets and whatnot? And to come up with a plan on how to manage that and how the master data and the basic data should be governed and executed moving forward is typically that the customer realize that if they now move into Evergreen with the solution, they also want to move into Evergreen with the data management. And for that, you need to set up a governance organization. You need to probably invest in cleaning up data
before upgrading.
Upgrading and consolidating suppliers. For example, you may have 10 records of suppliers, and they can be consolidated into 2 supplier records when you move to IFS Cloud.
I think IFS Cloud offers an extremely good master data template for almost any given business object, customer, supplier, manufacturer, part, object, whatever product.
What do you mean by the template?
I mean, the basic data setup in IFS is quite simple. And it's very easy also to configure other attributes that you would like to add to your master data record. And it's easier in a new implementation to convince the customer that you actually have a good data manager, that you can use. When you upgrade, you come into a legacy system where we always create the customer there and we create the part there and we have this process. It's a much tougher situation. And that's in one of our earlier seminars, we talked about the different strategies for the upgrade. And if you have a consolidating strategy where you would like to include several more solutions, I think it's almost
critical to
mandatory that you use the IFS data model as the master. That would simplify the implementation or upgrade a lot, I believe.
Yeah, I understand that, and I think it's another challenge that is connected to this simple upgrade project. And again, it's because you're now building your cloud strategy for your IT architecture. So you can't leave this area outside of the control, right? It must be governed. And
it's also the case that it's a prerequisite to achieve the enormous benefits that exist with with automation and data-driven decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have
Reliable
quality,
data.
Reliable data to make
Right decision.
informed decisions, and to automate, you also need things to be set up and properly in the right way.
Yeah. Otherwise, the automated integration will not fly because there will be
We'll
a
have
lot
a lot of
exceptions
and things.
And problems to manually handle. Another challenge that customers might observe is a lack of resources. I mean, the knowledge about IFS Cloud and functionalities, but also technical aspects and everything. Do you also observe this, that customers inside of their organization, they don't have enough resources, knowledge?
I think there's a trend that I see, that the customers have fewer people governing their existing ERP solutions. Back in the days, you could actually meet a customer on any given industrial site that actually had a project office internally, because it was so much information. When they did a new big investment and build a new paper machine or whatever, they had a project office. And the same thinking was actually applied into their IT organization. But with the when you have become more effective, more automated, more solutions in the cloud, you have shrunken the organization around the systems. And that is a challenge. Even though that the Evergreen message, from a marketing perspective, you can go home, have your nap and sleep well during the night and come back and the system will be updated. It's not really that simple.
Work like this,
It doesn't work that. So I think the knowledge that we need and the specialist you need to have as a customer, that could be quite demanding to actually find those system owners or I don't know the right term.
And also the data owners.
And also the process specialists.
Yeah.
So there are some key roles there that could be tough to find. We don't want them to hire our people from Novacura, of course, because we need them in a lot of other projects. But I think also there is a general lack of generalist resources who understands complex business processes in general. I mean, we have this young professional program, and we hired like 15 people last 2 years, and we are lucky to find these young colleagues that actually have the right level of education, etc. And we can sort of put them into very challenging projects where they develop fast. But for a customer who's have another core business of producing whatever product they are doing, it's much tougher for them to attract these people sometimes.
Attract, but also develop their skills, because they don't have their masters inside of the organization, or if the masters exist, they are extremely busy and unreplaceable and so on.
So for me, the ideal customer understands this issue, and they are very clear themselves what type of roles we would like to have in our own organization. And that is, there are some roles to have a system owner, to have one who understands the solution, and certain key process specialists. I think somewhere there you have like an ideal setup for a customer. And then of course finding a partner who can fill in the blanks in that, or in the bigger scope of the organization.
For me, it looks clear that you need a partner who will guide you through the entire process, and who will do all this boring technical part that is also complicated, who will guide you and suggest the right methodology. I mean, you just shared your observation that you really need to supplement the standard IFS methodology, otherwise you will be in a really bad situation the day before they go live, when you see that it doesn't match your real processes. So, I mean, it's better if the customer chooses the partner who is experienced in that process, to help them manage the areas that can be outsourced, because the customer has a lot to manage internally, like this, responsibility for their process areas and, data management.
But we must be honest also, I think, to say that, I mean, today in December 2023 here, I mean, the experience we have gained that thanks to our customers. I mean, the 10 projects that we've been involved with, we have different roles, and we have learned a lot from the customer side. Yes. Absolutely. And hopefully the customer has also learned a lot from us and the way we are working. And I think there is also a key to the success. It's easy to say, yeah, you can go from one partner to another partner. Yeah, it's easy to say theoretically, but it's very, very hard in reality. Maybe not as hard as changing from one ERP to another ERP, but you need to be very, very conscious about the way you also build up your partner strategy. And I guess that several of our larger customers, they will have a multiple partner strategy. That would be my choice, to actually use partners in different areas and actually have many threads to work with in the larger projects. And of course, we from our point of view, we would like to be the selected partner in every case, but we know we will not be that. So I think the big advantage for Novacura is that we have worked in different roles in our IFS Cloud project, which is hopefully, I know that we learn a lot from that, being on different situations.
But it's also the benefit of using external agency or partner, because they have experience gathered in 10 or 30, by performing 30 projects before, and they come to you with the joint experience that he gained when implementing these projects. And if you do it on your own, you might have people who have done this upgrade project in the past, but it's just one upgrade project, right? So it's incomparable. I think, again, customers have a lot on their plate to take care of. Data management, mapping their business processes and shaping the to-be state and so on and so forth. Things that any partner can't do on behalf of them, because this is their core. So the technical part, the methodology is good when they allow partners to help them, because this can be supported by partner. There is another topic here is, I sometimes hear that companies are not satisfied with the support level offered by IFS, and they are all complaining on the ticketing systems. When they want to do something, they always receive a ticket and they need to wait for a technician who will call them the day after or something. How do you see this? Is it really that bad, or it's just
first of all, I don't think it's specific to IFS. It's built into the cloud operation model. It's supposed to be very, very secure. It should be automated,
controlled,
managed. So it needs to be boxed in like this.
Yeah.
And that benefit has a cost to it. And as we mentioned before, the drawback of that is that when we actually run the project, we need more flexibility than this boxed in situation. So, but in operation, we love that boxed in thing that secures that you don't have any loopholes, you don't do stupid things to jeopardize your operations and things like that.
So your recommendation is to not use the managed cloud during the project phase. Then you need to have your own installation, because you have more flexibility. You are allowed to apply the changes on the fly. When you move, when you have the go live and you start using it on the production, then you could consider the IFS managed cloud, because it's good enough to, the support level is good enough for the operation, for the operations, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So what we've seen is that, because as we mentioned before, there are two cloud services that IFS offers. One is mandatory, which is the cloud service of managing the source code, pretty much the build place, and the other one is managing the databases that you operate then. And IFS had made advantages, listened to the customers that have implemented IFS Cloud and made it a lot better to use the cloud build place. And I think also they listened to the customer which customers that have struggled in some way in using managed cloud in their implementation. Mm-hmm. So I expect that to have the same development as for the cloud build place in the actual managed use place by IFS. So I think they will improve, but I don't think we have seen enough evidence for that yet.
But I think there's a very human issue to this problem as well. That is when you actually have a problem, it might be that you say, okay, this is stopping my work today, and you need to raise a ticket, and you go into a process. When you're not able to talk to a living person, you're not sure what is happening here. You wait, you have no sort of, no clue what will happen with it. And that is a very stressful situation, even though from a system supply, this is a low priority issue. It could be some headline that is written in the wrong language or whatever. I don't know. But that, how can we make this more human, and how can we make this more flexible working for each customer? That is something that we at Novacura is working very hard with, trying to find a way to make this sort of in the project. They will know a lot of people coming from us and other partners doing the project, but when after go live, what happens after go live, and how can we sort of keep up a good service level that makes people feel comfortable using the solution? That is a big challenge. And I don't think there's no straight answer. There need to be clear processes from a quality perspective, but it also needs to be, to understand the real situation for the customer. And that's where I think having a good support service agreement with our customers is very, very key. The project is X amount of years or months, and then you have a support situation maybe for 5 times the project time.
Yeah.
So it's key for us.
But these two situations are different. What's required during this first upgrade project is totally different than what is required.
But the experience for the end user could be the same.
From the end user, yes, but when you stabilize your solution, when you need to apply the changes on a daily basis,
but that is IT mumbo jumbo for an end user. They want help. So we need to, as a supplier in this space, we need to understand and become better in doing this. Otherwise, a big value of the cloud capabilities will get lost.
Will be ruined by
bad user experience on different levels.
So that way we came to the last topic, and it's just the last challenge that we observe, which is the readiness at the customer side for the upcoming Evergreen situation strategy. It's not just the technical thing that the system will be upgraded technically twice a year, but it requires specific processes and organization. And I know there are several things connected to that. First is you need to really read and digest all the documents that IFS is publishes where they describe the upcoming changes, and you need to digest it and decide on what should be included in the next release, what's maybe not that important for my company, what will affect my core processes, what will not at all, and so on, so on. So it's one part. You need to analyze the release notes and constantly check what's coming. The other part is that when you decide that there are several functionalities that are important for you, you need to plan the implementation, meaning you need to train the users, you need to maybe do some customization, or maybe plan the removal of existing modifications, because maybe this new functionality brings something that will enable you to remove the old modification. And then you need to train the users and support them after the go live. By go live, I mean this new upgrade, right? There is a certain period.
If I may start here, among our customers now, I have one, I don't want to name that customer specific, but they are extremely lean in their cloud organization. They are in multiple countries, they have multiple sites, they have fair amount of users, I think around 400 users in the solution, but they are very lean in their cloud organization, in their Evergreen organization. They already done a release upgrade. They have taken, I think, 2 or 3 updates and are in a very stable situation. And then we can compare them with other customers that have a lot of more people involved, and they're planning for an organization to be much more filled with resources, which is good, which absolutely is good. But I can think that is the situation for the customer dependent on which situation they are operating their normal operation in. Mm-hmm. So the first customer is in a very competitive situation with extreme competition of their product on a global basis. Yeah. The other customer is more in a secure environment in the sense that they have their I don't say monopoly, but they have their task to fulfill, and they are not sort of facing that type of competition. Oh. And that gives 2 different ways of looking at how to organize themselves. And I rather see that they meet somewhere in the middle. Mm-hmm. Because the first organization, if somebody leaves that organization for whatever reason, will become very vulnerable, and the other not I don't say extreme, but the other style, on the other side of the scale, they might be facing an issue with not somebody taking the sort of complete view of the solution, or it might be too much diverse in too many. Too divided, exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
So the best practices, I mean, we can't show any solution here, but this is definitely a topic that needs to be addressed. I mean, you need to think that you not only need to survive the upgrade project itself, but you also need to be your organization needs to be prepared for the future upgrades, and you need to have constant roles that will constantly monitor what's coming and will constantly map it onto the next releases and plan the next releases and actually push for that, I guess. Yeah.
I think that it's good for the customer to have a strategy for setting up their Evergreen organization, and how much of the work they outsource when. I mean, they can outsource more in the beginning and then have opportunity to take more ownership and do more of themselves.
I think just one thing just came to my mind that, in connection to that, it's not only connected to ERP, it's also connected to other systems that are integrated with the ERP. So you switch your organization from the style where we have random upgrades that, are applicable for, to specific systems, to the organization that lives from one big release to another big release that, is a common release for all the systems. You just set the common date for all the systems, and it's the second release in this year, and then you upgrade all the systems like MES, CRM, and your ERP at the same day.
But that doesn't happen.
I mean, I know organization where it happens, but they are really big, and it's the only way for them to survive. Actually.
But I think one in terms of preparing to be able to live in an evergreen situation, I think it's important to define which role should we have inside our own organization, where we would like to have help. For the roles that you have inside, you should not be alone. You need to have a voice to share with you. I think from a security point of view, it's extremely important that if we have one that is expert on our customer billing process and that person leaves the company, we cannot face that risk. We need to think in terms of replacement or what do you call it? Succession. Succession is the word. Yeah. And the same way that we are thinking at Novacura, when we bring in our young professional program, we teaming them up with experienced consultants, and they start sharing, and the experienced consultants learn new things from the young professional, and we try to convert some stuff to the young professional as well. And it's that way of thinking is extremely important in that situation. And also to actually have the courage to take on the new capabilities. Because if you now invested in this new cloud solution, and then you don't dare to take the new capabilities,
and you don't benefit from the Evergreen.
That's a very, very strange situation.
I mean, you require these change agents in your organization who who are motivated to,
Yeah, but it should also be part of your survival tactics. I mean, in a competitive world, you know that you need to lower your cost, you need to increase your revenue. It's sort of basic model for commercial business.
And once again, especially in front of the new emerging technologies like generative AI, you really need to be,
you need
to have access to it and use it, because will become a major part of the business.
And will give you the competitive advantage, which is a great last sentence, I think, for this webinar. Sorry for interrupting.
No problem.
I think we utilized the whole time we had for that recording. So thank you for that discussion. Thank you for sharing your observation. In the next and last webinar, we will summarize it all and we will help our customer prepare their own IFS Cloud upgrade plan, but it will come next in the next webinar. Thank you for today once again, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, that's all for the episode number 4. I hope you enjoyed it. I encourage you to watch the other episode of our series where we talk about the potential IFS Cloud upgrade strategies. We try to answer the question, why is it worth switching to IFS Cloud? And we also honestly share our experience on the challenges you may face when you will have your own IFS Cloud upgrade project. You can find links to all the episodes in the description below the video. Please share this material with your colleagues who might be potentially interested in upgrading to IFS Cloud. Thank you.